Welcome everyone to an incredible journey into the world of coins, history, and unbelievable discoveries where something so small and ordinary can hide a story worth millions. Imagine holding in your hand what appears to be a regular dime, a coin you've probably handled thousands of times without thinking about it, light in weight, silver in color, with the familiar face of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on one side and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the other. Now imagine finding out that this very coin, struck in 1993 at the Philadelphia Mint, is not worth 10 cents but instead has been valued at an astonishing $23.5 million. It sounds impossible, almost like a fantasy, but this is the fascinating reality of the 1993 P1 Liberty dime, a coin whose astronomical worth comes not from its metal content but from its extraordinary combination of minting errors, mistakes, and mint mark anomalies that make it truly one of a kind and one of the most valuable coins in modern American history. To truly appreciate the significance of this dime, we need to step back and understand the context of its creation. The Roosevelt dime series was first introduced in 1946, replacing the Mercury dime. The change was made to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his death in April 1945. Roosevelt was not only a pivotal leader during the Great Depression and World War II but was also a champion of public health efforts, most notably through his support of the March of Dimes to combat polio. The design for the new dime was created by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the United States Mint at the time. The obverse featured a dignified left-facing profile of Roosevelt, while the reverse showcased a torch representing liberty flanked by an olive branch for peace and an oak branch for strength. This design became an enduring icon, used with only minor modifications for decades. By 1993, the United States Mint had been producing the Roosevelt dime for nearly half a century, striking them at its various facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and occasionally West Point. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small p mint mark on the coin's obverse just to the right of the date, was responsible for a large portion of that year's dime production. Under normal circumstances, millions of these coins were produced with exacting precision, intended to be virtually identical, each worth its face value of 10 cents in everyday transactions. But the 1993 P dime at the center of this story is anything but ordinary. The reason this coin's value skyrockets into the tens of millions lies in a combination of extremely rare minting errors and anomalies. Coins are produced by striking blank metal discs called planchets between two dies, one for the obverse and one for the reverse, under tremendous pressure. Modern minting technology is remarkably precise, but it is not infallible. When something goes wrong, whether due to human oversight, mechanical malfunction, or a freak accident in the production line, it can result in a coin that deviates from the standard in unique ways. Such coins are known as error coins, and depending on the nature and severity of the error, they can become highly desirable to collectors. Error types vary widely. A double die error occurs when the die itself is engraved twice slightly out of alignment, causing parts of the design, such as letters or numbers, to appear doubled. An off-center strike happens when the planchet is not properly centered in the press, resulting in a coin with part of its design missing and an unusually wide blank border on one side. Wrong planchet errors occur when a coin is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coin, leading to differences in size, weight, and metal composition. Clipped planchets have a crescent-shaped piece missing, usually due to a misfeed in the blank cutting machinery. And then there are mint mark anomalies, errors involving the small letter or letters that indicate where a coin was minted. In older coins, mint marks were added by hand, which could lead to misplacements or repunched marks. Even in modern times, where the mint mark is part of the die itself, strange variations can occur due to die damage, misalignment, or other factors. The 1993 P1 Liberty dime is believed to display a perfect storm of such errors. Reports and expert examinations suggest that its P mint mark is not only unusually placed but may also show signs of doubling, a sign that the die used to strike it was misaligned or had been improperly prepared. Additionally, the coin may have been struck on a planchet of slightly different composition than normal, perhaps one intended for a foreign coin of similar size and weight, which could account for subtle variations in its color, luster, or weight. On top of these, there are indications of a double die affecting parts of the obverse, possibly including the date and Roosevelt's profile, as well as minor die cracks or cuds on the reverse, small raised areas of metal where the die had begun to fail. When multiple distinct errors occur on a single coin, the rarity increases exponentially. Each error alone might be interesting and worth a premium over face value, but combined, they create a unique specimen that could be the only one of its kind. In the case of the 1993 P dime, experts believe this combination is so rare that it may indeed be a sole survivor, a one-of-one coin. Uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value in numismatics. If a wealthy collector wants to own the only example of a coin in existence, they will have to outbid anyone else who shares that desire, and when such competition happens at a major auction, the prices can soar to breathtaking heights. The journey of this coin from the minting floor to a valuation of $23.5 million is itself a matter of speculation and intrigue. It's possible that the coin was caught by an alert collector shortly after its release, perhaps even before it had a chance to circulate, and carefully preserved in mint state condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with mint state grades from 60 to 70 reserved for coins that show no signs of wear. A coin with these extraordinary errors in mint state 68, 69, or the perfect 70 could command a truly astronomical price, as condition plays a huge role in collector demand and pricing. Auction history is full of examples of rare coins achieving mind-boggling prices. The 1794 flowing hair silver dollar, believed by many to be the first silver dollar struck by the U.S. Mint, sold for over $10 million. The 1933 Double Eagle, a $20 gold coin never released for circulation, sold for $18.9 million. These coins are older and more historically famous than the 1993 P dime, yet they show that the market for unique or nearly unique coins is incredibly strong. The sale of the 1993 P dime for over $23 million fits into this tradition of extraordinary prices for extraordinary coins. Beyond its price, the coin has captured the imagination of the numismatic community because it challenges our assumptions about modern coins. Many people assume that valuable coins must be old, gold, or both. Yet here is a dime from the 1990s, made from the same copper-nickel-clad composition as billions of others, fetching a price higher than many mansions or luxury yachts. It's a reminder that rarity, not age or metal, is often the key to value in coin collecting. The specifics of how the errors occurred are part of what makes this coin so interesting. Minting is a highly automated process, but it relies on humans to set up, monitor, and maintain the equipment. If a wrong planchet was fed into the press, it might have been the result of leftover blanks from a special production run, or a mix-up in the storage bins that feed the presses. A double die could result from a misstep in the die creation process, where the hub that impresses the design onto the die was misaligned between strikes. Die cracks and cuts form over time as the repeated stress of striking coins causes tiny fractures in the hardened steel dies. And while mint marks are part of the die in modern times, damage or alterations to that part of the die can still create unusual mint mark appearances. The chances of all of these factors converging on a single coin are astronomically low, which is why such a coin could exist as a unique specimen. Collectors of error coins often specialize in certain types of errors, and the 1993 P dime is the kind of coin that appeals across these specialties. Those who collect mint mark varieties would be interested in its unusual P. Those who collect planchet errors would value its suspected wrong composition. Those who collect double dies or die cracks would appreciate those features. And because it's a dime a small, everyday coin, it also has crossover appeal to generalists who seek the most unusual coins of any type. When such a coin comes to market, whether through a public auction or a private sale, the event becomes a spectacle in the collecting world. Bidders may include wealthy individuals who see it as a centerpiece for their collection, investment funds that specialize in rare tangible assets, or museums that want to display it as part of the nation's history. The competition can be fierce, with bids escalating rapidly as each party tries to secure the prize. Stories from the auction floor often describe tense moments as the price climbs into the millions, with gasps and applause when the hammer finally falls. The 1993 P dime's $23.5 million sale was one of those moments, an event still talked about among numismatists. For those of us who may never see such a coin in person, the story still offers inspiration. Migrate, coin lovers and history enthusiasts, to a journey where we step into the world of rare treasures hidden in plain sight. Now, we are going to explore a coin that is so small, so ordinary at first glance, that most people would simply hand it over at a grocery store without a second thought. But that would be a mistake of historic proportions, because the coin we are talking about is the 1999 P Liberty dime from the United States, a coin with a face value of just 10 cents, yet in certain extraordinary circumstances it can be worth as much as $19.3 million. Yes, you heard that right, a single dime, the size of your fingernail, can hold enough value to buy a mansion, a fleet of luxury cars, or an island paradise. But the magic isn't in the silver content or in some solid gold plating, it lies in the story, the history, the mistakes, and the minting quirks that turn an everyday coin into a once-in-a-lifetime collectible. Imagine for a moment that you are handed change at a corner store. You open your palm and see a dull silver dime with the familiar image of Franklin D. Roosevelt, and right under the date is a small P mint mark. Nothing about it screams rare treasure, yet in the world of numismatics, the passionate study and collecting of coins, that little detail could be the start of a discovery worth millions. The 1999 P Liberty dime was minted in Philadelphia during a year when the United States Mint was producing coins at a furious pace to meet the demands of the economy and the excitement of the approaching new millennium. Billions of coins rolled off the presses in that era, each intended to be perfect enough for circulation but cheap enough to produce quickly. And it is precisely in those hectic minting conditions that the seeds of rarity are sown, the tiny mistakes, unnoticed by the workers, that slip through the quality checks and end up in the hands of the public. When we talk about the 1999 P Liberty dime, we are talking about a coin that on the surface follows the standard design. The obverse side bears the profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt, designed by John R. Sinek back in 1946 to honor the late president. The reverse side features a torch flanked by olive and oak branches, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength, the essence of American ideals in metal form. The P under the date signifies the Philadelphia Mint, the oldest official mint in the United States, responsible for billions of coins annually. But among these billions, a select few 1999 P dimes have something unusual about them: errors, anomalies, and imperfections that make them vastly more valuable than their ordinary cousins. Coin errors come in many shapes and forms. Some are dramatic off-center strikes where half the design is missing, double strikes where images overlap like ghostly shadows, planchet errors where the blank metal disc is flawed before minting, or die errors where cracks, chips, or polishing mistakes alter the design. Others are subtle, visible only under magnification, but these subtle errors can still drive collectors into bidding wars. For the 1999 P Liberty dime, one of the key attractions lies in rare die varieties and misstrikes that are so scarce they are almost mythical. We are talking about coins struck with dies intended for proof coins, coins that show doubling in the date or lettering, coins struck slightly off-center but still with full details, or even coins mistakenly struck on the wrong type of metal blank. Consider for a moment a wrong planchet error. The dime is supposed to be made of a copper-nickel clad composition, with an overall silver appearance but no actual silver content. However, once in a while, a dime might be struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin or another denomination, for example, a cent or a 5-cent piece. The result is a coin that weighs differently, has a different color or feel, and instantly stands out to a trained eye. Imagine finding a 1999 P dime struck on a 5-cent blank. The design might not fit properly, leaving parts of the lettering missing or stretched. These are the kinds of errors that transform a 10-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar numismatic marvel. Then there are doubled dies, where the design appears to have a shadow-like repetition caused by a misalignment during the hubbing process when the die was made. On a 1999 P Liberty dime, a doubled die in the date, mint mark, or lettering such as Liberty or In God We Trust could make collectors go wild. These errors are not merely printing glitches, they are frozen moments of mechanical imperfection, preserved forever in metal, and because they occur in such small quantities, their rarity multiplies their value exponentially. Combine that rarity with the significance of the late 1990s as a pre-millennium minting period and you have the perfect storm for sky-high prices. Another intriguing factor is the concept of condition. In coin collecting, condition is everything. A 1999 P dime that has been in circulation for decades will likely be scratched, worn, and dull. But a coin that somehow escaped circulation and remained in pristine, mint-state condition with no visible wear, sharp details, and original luster could command staggering sums, especially if it also has an error. Grading companies such as PCGS and NGC assign coins grades on the Sheldon scale, with MS70 being a flawless, perfect coin. A 1999 P Liberty dime with a rare error, graded MS68 or higher, could be the exact combination that makes it worth $19.3 million to the right collector. Part of what drives this astronomical value is the psychology of collecting. For some, owning a coin like this is not about the metal content but about owning a piece of history, a piece of rarity that no one else can easily get. It becomes a trophy, a testament to their dedication and success as a collector. Auctions for such coins often become competitive battles where pride and prestige push prices far beyond initial estimates. This is why a coin that costs 10 cents to make can end up as the centerpiece of a multi-million-dollar transaction. To understand the mystique of the 1999 Liberty dime, we must also consider the broader history of the dime itself. The Roosevelt dime replaced the Mercury dime in 1946, shortly after Franklin D. Roosevelt's death, partly to honor his legacy and partly to support his association with the March of Dimes campaign to combat polio. Over the decades, the design remained largely unchanged, even as the minting technology evolved from manual presses to high-speed computerized systems. But despite these advances, human oversight and the inherent complexity of coin production meant that errors were always possible, and in a world of mass production, errors are golden for collectors. The Philadelphia Mint in 1999 was a hub of activity, not only producing circulating coinage but also preparing for the upcoming release of the 50-state quarters program in 1999, which was one of the most popular coin programs in U.S. history. The focus on new designs and large production quotas may have diverted attention from routine coins like the dime, allowing unusual pieces to slip through the cracks. This backdrop of intense minting activity is part of the reason why certain errors from that year are especially interesting to numismatists. Think about the sheer odds of finding one of these rare 1999 Liberty dimes. Billions of coins circulate through the economy every year, passing from hand to hand, through vending machines, cash registers, parking meters, and bank deposits. The vast majority are ordinary. But somewhere in that ocean of coins, a few special ones hide in plain sight, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a bit of luck to spot them. The thrill of the hunt is part of what makes coin collecting such an enduring passion. The idea that you might stumble upon a life-changing discovery in your spare change. Now let's imagine one of these coins in detail. Picture holding a dime that looks ordinary at first glance but, under a magnifying glass, reveals doubling in the date, a slightly off-center strike, and a mysterious weight that doesn't match standard specifications. You take it to a coin shop, where the dealer's eyes widen in disbelief. They weigh it, measure it, and examine it under bright lights, confirming your suspicions this is no ordinary dime. Word spreads in the coin community, and soon auction houses are calling, eager to feature the piece in a high-profile sale. The bidding starts in the thousands, quickly leaps into the millions, and before the night is over, the hammer falls at an astonishing $19.3 million. You leave with a check that changes your life forever, all because you noticed something others overlooked. Stories like these are rare, but they are not fantasies. Coins with dramatic errors have sold for millions before, and as the market for rare coins grows, so does the willingness of wealthy collectors to pay top dollar for unique pieces. The 1999 Liberty dime fits into this tradition perfectly, a coin that is both a product of its time and an accident of the minting process, combining historical context with mechanical imperfection to create a masterpiece of numismatic rarity. And so, the lesson here is simple: never underestimate the value of what's in your pocket. Every coin has a story, and some stories are worth millions. The 1999 Liberty dime may be small, but its tale is as vast and fascinating as any in the collecting world. It is a reminder that history often hides in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer, to ask questions, and to recognize the extraordinary in the ordinary. And who knows, maybe the next time you get change, you'll be holding a tiny fortune between your fingers. My dears, in the second history today we're going to take a fascinating journey into the world of rare coins, and in particular we're going to focus on a coin that at first glance may look like just another small piece of pocket change, something that could easily be overlooked in a handful of dimes. But in reality, this tiny silver-colored coin carries a story, a mystery, and a value that will leave you stunned. I'm talking about the 2001 Liberty dime, a coin that has become the stuff of legend in numismatic circles, with one specific example being valued at an extraordinary $21 million, an amount that is incomprehensible when you remember that its original face value was just 10 cents. Imagine holding in your hand a dime, one of the most common coins in everyday circulation, yet realizing that what you're holding is worth more than luxury mansions, exotic cars, or private jets. That's the allure and magic of coin collecting at the highest level. And today we're going to unpack exactly why this coin is so special, what went wrong at the mint to make it so unique, and how these kinds of rare finds even exist in the first place. To understand why this 2001p dime is so valuable, we first have to step back and understand the broader history of the Liberty dime design and how the United States Mint operates. While the term Liberty dime might be casually used by some to refer to any dime featuring a symbolic representation of liberty, in modern times the official design for the dime is the Roosevelt dime, first issued in 1946 after the death of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The obverse side of the coin shows his profile, while the reverse features a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. By 2001, this design had been in use for over half a century, and billions of examples had been minted across the nation. The Philadelphia Mint, which uses the P Mint mark, produced hundreds of millions of dimes in 2001 alone, most of which were struck in ordinary precision and released into everyday commerce. The vast majority of these coins are worth no more than their face value, maybe a little more to a collector if they're in pristine uncirculated condition. But somewhere among those hundreds of millions of strikes, one or perhaps a tiny handful were different. They were the result of errors and anomalies in the minting process so rare and so dramatic that they transformed a common coin into a priceless rarity. To grasp the rarity, it's important to know how coins are made. At the mint, the process begins with coin blanks, also called planchets, which are flat, round metal discs prepared to exact specifications for each denomination. For modern dimes, the composition is a clad mix, an inner core of pure copper sandwiched between two layers of copper-nickel alloy, giving the coin its silvery appearance. These blanks are fed into high-speed presses equipped with dies-engraved steel tools that carry the design for the coin. The upper die strikes the obverse, and the lower die strikes the reverse, both coming together with tremendous force to imprint the design onto the planchet. Normally, the process is so refined and quality control so strict that error coins are caught and removed before leaving the mint. But every so often, mistakes slip through, and those mistakes are where the magic begins for collectors. The 2001p Liberty dime valued at $21 million is believed to have multiple errors stacked together, something collectors call a compound error or multi-error coin. The first and most obvious is a misaligned die strike, meaning the design was not centered correctly on the planchet when struck. This causes part of the design to be shifted, sometimes cutting off key features or leaving one side of the coin with an abnormally wide border. This alone can make a coin collectible, but in this case, it's only the beginning. Reports indicate that this coin also has a double strike, where after the first impression, the planchet shifted slightly and was struck again, creating a ghost-like doubling of letters, numbers, and design elements. Double strikes can be dramatic or subtle, but when combined with a misalignment, they become especially eye-catching. The next factor contributing to its uniqueness is believed to be a wrong planchet error. This occurs when a planchet intended for one denomination is mistakenly fed into the press for another. For example, a dime struck on a planchet intended for a cent or even a foreign coin could create a piece that is underweight or overweight compared to normal specs. In the case of the 2001p, experts suggest it may have been struck on a planchet intended for a foreign contract coin, possibly with a slightly different metallic composition. This would mean the coin doesn't just look different, it also feels and weighs differently, something a trained collector or grader would immediately notice. The combination of unusual weight, metallic sheen, and striking anomalies would set off alarm bells for any expert examining it. Mint mark anomalies also play a role. The Philadelphia Mint typically applies the P Mint mark directly into the die before striking, but there are known instances in numismatic history where mint marks have been accidentally omitted, doubled, or even repunched. In rare cases, a mint mark can appear distorted due to die damage or debris in the die cavity. The 2001p $1 million dime reportedly has a repunched mint mark, where the P appears to have been applied twice in slightly different positions, creating a shadow effect. This alone might not create a multi-million-dollar value, but when you combine it with all the other errors present on the same coin, you get something unprecedented. Another factor that drives value is provenance, the documented history of a coin's discovery, ownership, and auction appearances. The story goes that this 2001p dime was discovered not in a coin roll or bank bag, but in circulation, by an astute collector who immediately recognized something unusual. It then went through rigorous authentication and grading by one of the top third-party grading services, receiving not only a high grade for its physical condition but also special notation for its unique errors. Once authenticated, the coin became the subject of intense bidding among elite collectors, eventually fetching the astonishing $21 million price tag at a private sale. Stories like this add an element of romance and excitement, making the coin not just a rare object but a legend in its own right. Beyond the physical errors, the 2001 P Liberty dime's astronomical value also reflects the psychology of collecting. At the highest levels, collectors are not just buying metal, they're buying history, uniqueness, and bragging rights. Owning a one-of-a-kind coin is like owning an original masterpiece painting. It becomes a symbol of status and achievement. The fact that this dime combines multiple mint errors, has a confirmed provenance, and is the only known example of its kind makes it a trophy coin, the type that wealthy collectors are willing to spend fortunes on to complete their collections or secure their place in numismatic history. Now, when we talk about errors, it's worth diving deeper into what can go wrong in the minting process and why such mistakes are so rare today. In earlier decades, minting technology was less precise, and quality control was more dependent on human oversight, so errors like off-center strikes or wrong planchet usage were more common. But by 2001, the U.S. Mint had invested heavily in automation, computer-guided presses, and rigorous inspection systems. This makes modern error coins much rarer, because almost all defective coins are caught before leaving the facility. For a multi-error coin like this 2001 P dime to escape into circulation suggests a perfect storm of events, possibly a malfunctioning press combined with a lapse in inspection, or even a deliberate act by someone within the mint. While conspiracy theories abound in the coin world about intentional errors making their way to collectors, proving such claims is almost impossible. What's certain is that the rarity and modern date make this coin even more valuable, because error specialists know just how unlikely it is for such a piece to exist at all in the 21st century. It's also fascinating to consider how many valuable coins might still be hiding in plain sight. The 2001 P Liberty dime story encourages everyday people to check their change carefully, because even in modern circulation there's always the possibility of finding something extraordinary. Most people might look at a dime and see 10 cents, a collector looks and sees potential. Weight discrepancies, unusual coloration, misaligned designs, doubled lettering, or strange mint marks are all clues that a coin might be something more. The owner of the $21 million dime might have just as easily spent it on a soda without realizing its value, had they not been trained to spot the signs. In the numismatic community, this coin has sparked debates and discussions about the future of error coin collecting. Some argue that modern errors should be worth less than their historical counterparts, since older coins carry the charm of antiquity. Others point out that rarity is rarity, regardless of date, and that modern multi-error coins might actually be more valuable because of the extreme improbability of their creation in today's minting environment. The 2001 P dime sits at the center of this debate, a modern marvel that commands a historic price. The story also reminds us that the value of a coin is determined not just by its metal content, but by a complex web of factors including condition, rarity, demand, and narrative. The metal in this dime is worth only a few cents, but the combination of errors, uniqueness, and collector desire transforms it.